Welcome back to Control Alt Lead. This week I'm talking to Clare Schramm, the Cloud Engineering Director from BT. Now, we all know about BT, but some of us might not appreciate just how big the company really is. BT consumes about 1% of the UK's total energy, which is massive for a single company. And it is a lot, but it runs critical services like 999, for example, so it's important. The company has been changing how it designs and uses software and hardware and how it works with suppliers to bring their energy use down. It's a really fascinating set of projects, and Claire really digs into the detail. So I hope that this example inspires you to adopt something similar with your own company. So Claire, thank you so much for joining me today. You're from the Cloud Services division at BT. What exactly is that? What does Cloud Services do?
Sure. We build the technology infrastructure and services that hosts all of BT's IT trading and network systems. These are things like our .com, customer ordering, provisioning and billing, network management systems, as well as our mobile network traffic. My team is around 600 professionals. We operate several on-premise and public cloud platforms. We operate kind of like an internal hyperscaler for BT, and our mission statement is securing tomorrow's connectivity.
Great. And speaking of tomorrow, sustainability is a key goal for BT. Why is that? Why is sustainability so important for the company?
Sure. So, an interesting stat that we take quite seriously at BT is that we consume 1% of the UK's electricity. Massive responsibility that we bear. And so, moving to sustainable solutions is a really significant driver for us. We have a lot of different sustainability initiatives, but one that's particularly relevant to my area is our data center energy reduction program. We prioritize working with sustainable partners and vendors, and this plays a very big role in our procurement processes. So one big example, when we did our legacy data storage refresh program, sustainability was top of mind. Here was where we began our relationship with Pure Storage, since their flash storage platform promises to drastically cut the space and power demands. And we felt that this would go a long way towards supporting us in reaching our sustainability goals within the data centers. And we now include sustainability as a key requirement in all of our commercial tenders and our contract renewals. And from this perspective, we evaluate both a technology's energy efficiency claims as well as the sustainable supply chain practices for a vendor.
Great. Okay. So the legacy data storage refresh project, was that its name?
Yes, yeah.
Brilliant. And really impressive that you're including that in your professional tenders as well. So I'd love to see more businesses doing that.
Yes, I agree. It makes a huge difference. And it's not just about benchmarking the technology itself. We do always benchmark technology within our environments as well, because there's claims published online, and then there's a difference between how they perform within your environment. But there's also a whole thing around the whole supply chain as well. Anyone that works with data centers knows how much cardboard is used in the process, and that was something that we measure quite carefully, and that a lot of vendors we are starting to see lean into being more efficient with that process.
Okay. Have you had any pushback on that front? I mean, including in professional tenders, putting requirements on your suppliers. Has that been an easy process, or has there been any friction?
We're finding that our major tier one suppliers are all leaning in. Definitely, there were some that didn't at first, and hence why we have kind of emerging relationships with others. But we're finding that the big data center vendors are all quite conscious of this. So we're not encountering a lot of pushback by any means. If anything, we're finding that the vendors are also helping to and educate us around the process as well. So we think it's been really great. There's also a couple of industry initiatives around carbon reduction that several vendors have kind of started to bring BT in on. That's been really great. So it's really good to see that whilst, of course, we are in a competitive industry and everything, there does seem to be a lot of cooperation, which I think is for the greater good.
Brilliant. So you said there that you're working to sort of optimize your energy use. How's that going on? Let's start with the software front. How are you working to optimize BT's energy use in terms of software?
Sure. So my team both builds and host software on our platforms. The types of software that my team builds are, as you can expect, observability tooling that we use to monitor and manage our cloud platforms. So for those tools where it's within my observability team's remit to build and maintain, we of course do efficient code practices, optimized code practices, using common data structures. We just basic good software engineering practices. We govern that via code reviews and wave planning to ensure that these are adhered to. Now, there's workloads that are tenant on our platforms, which, as you can expect for a big enterprise company like BT, is a combination of commercial and custom built software, varying ages. We've also got a lot of spaghetti interfaces between large legacy systems. BT did grow by acquisition, so you can expect that we have a lot of complicated stuff in our estate. For those tenant workloads, optimal coding practices may not have always been used. They may be quite aged, and it was before the time when that became kind of a major priority for software engineers. We also have an awful lot of workloads, such as telco workloads, where vendor certification becomes an important part of the process, and you are constrained in terms of deployment, techniques and things like that. So we kind of focus on what we can for our tenant workloads. We have to ensure that the underlying infrastructure from servers all the way through to storage is operating as efficiently as possible.
Okay. And I suppose the obvious question there then is, how are you doing that with like these legacy systems and spaghetti code? How are you able to go through and optimize that?
Sure. So we began attacking the problem with our storage refresh. We refreshed different parts of our estate on a 5-year cycle. First one that came up for us was storage. So we did, as we would normally do, a market survey where we benchmarked different vendors and benchmarked particularly not just their performance, but also energy usage. And this was where Pure came out, significantly ahead. So we ended up choosing Pure as our tier one storage provider, implementing both FlashArray and FlashBlade. And now this supports a lot of systems across the business, but voice recording systems, secure data, media and broadcast workloads, customer billing applications, you name it across the estate. It now hosts much of our network and our traffic. And via our storage refresh program, which is about 18 months in, we've replaced 14 legacy arrays. We're going to do an additional 5 this year, and all new storage pods are using Pure Storage by default.
It's brilliant. So my next question was going to be, we talked about software, my next one was going to be on the hardware side. You've kind of answered that, but have you got anything to add, anything else you're doing in terms of hardware?
So our focus has been on storage to date, and it was just because of when the refresh cycle came up. We're currently entering into a refresh cycle for our servers and switches in our data centers. Right now, we're beginning a market survey. Sustainability, as you can expect, is a key requirement, both in terms of benchmarking the performance as well as evaluating the supply chain. So we'll continue to do this as our different parts of our estate come up for legacy refresh.
Brilliant. And I suppose my last question then, seeing as you mentioned earlier, BT takes 1% of the UK's total power, which is absolutely shocking for a single company to do that. But and I can see why sustainability is so important for you. But what have the results been of these, changed coding practices, this new hardware? Has it had a noticeable practical effect?
Yeah, I would say the biggest result we've seen is from our legacy storage transformation program using Pure. Pure is 18 times more efficient than our legacy storage providers, and this has allowed us to reduce our data center energy consumption. Last financial year, we reduced by 11 gigawatt hours, and for this financial year, we've already saved 2 gigawatt hours. We will triple that by the end of the year. So it's massive, massive difference, kind of extrapolate that out based on energy and stuff. You can see the actual cost savings that it yields for BT, as well as also reducing the strain on our electrical grid in the UK and all of the other kind of fringe benefits that we get from that as well. So when we work with partners that are focused on sustainability, we see a real difference. And that's something that we aim to continue.
Brilliant. Claire, thank you so much for joining me and for telling me about the really impressive work that's going on at BT.
Thanks for having me, Tom. We're really happy to always talk about it. And as I mentioned, we as BT, we're a critical national infrastructure provider. The amount of energy we use is kind of proportional to I guess the gravity of the systems that we provide to support the UK. But I hope that everyone realizes just how seriously we take that obligation and all the effort that we're doing to be responsible contributors.
Absolutely. Critical national infrastructure is, I mean, it's in the title, it's critical. I don't think anyone could tell you off for using the amount of energy that you do, but it is great to see that the work that you're doing to cut that down.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you, Claire.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Control Alt Lead. Coming up, I'll be talking to Harry Jones from Motorway about how IT is changing the used car market. And as always, you can head to computing.co.uk for more IT interviews, research, and analysis. See you soon.